Hello, everybody, and welcome to the final Answer the Call of 2018. This was a little idea that we had from a Discord call with Board Gamer, and it's turned into something fantastic. I'm so happy with what it is. We were discussing a little bit before the stream that we definitely need to promote like getting new callers on and more people and more exciting things. Today's episode is definitely a bit of a gimme, as you can see on the topic below. And we are going to make some changes a little bit where I'm going to try and make the video a little bit more appealing, where when I'm speaking alone, I'll be on my own scene. And when I bring callers on, I'll have the names on screen and all that stuff. So I'm going to be like wildly typing while people are talking and all that stuff as well. But, I am very, very happy with where Answer the Call has come. And hopefully where it's going in the future. So I just want to thank you all before we get started for the support that you guys have given Answer the Call, whether it be on the YouTube channel, whether it be on Twitch, or even on like Reddit. People have posted on Reddit pretty much weekly, and for the most part, it gets a pretty good, I guess. People seem to enjoy it, yeah. But anyway, let's get started into the show. So we're going to do a year in review of Star Citizen, but also a kind of, I want to propose, like, what do you guys expect from maybe the first half or even all of 2019 from Star Citizen? I don't want to say 2019 is going to be the year for Star Citizen, but as each year passes, I think we are definitely getting closer and closer to where we really do have a video game that we can play on a regular basis and so on and so forth. But let's get started in this year review. Let's actually get into this video. I did a little bit of research and went onto the Star Citizen development tab, and the first thing that you can see, or the first thing I saw right away, was patch notes. So I scrolled over to patch notes, and at the end of December 2017, and for the first 3 months of 2018, we had Star Citizen 3.0. The Stanton system was basically born in that patch. Obviously, it was born in 2.0 when, we were around Crusader, Port Olisar, all that stuff. But true travel around the Stanton system was born in 3.0. We had Moons, Levski, and all that stuff. It was an interesting 3 months, I would say. There were lots of bugs, but we can all see the potential there, right? That was the first time that we can actually see the potential of Star Citizen, and it was amazing, and it was frustrating all at the same time, right? Not only that, but I believe we were given the interaction system for the first time, the hold F and interact. We were also given traveling cargo from one destination to another. And our first kind of dynamic economy was in 3.0. And to be honest, cargo was in a better place then than it is now, right? It was a baby, but it was ugly, right? Then in March of 2018, we were given our first patch of the year, Star Citizen 3.1. Looking at those patch notes, it was rough. There was really no major features added in 3.1. It was basically all fixing everything that came into 3.0. Okay, no surprise there. A very tick-tocky kind of year. The tick was 3.0 and the talk was 3.1 to fix a lot of the bugs. In 3.2 was a major patch for me specifically. Mining, party improvements, quantum linking, render to texture. Lots of really big things happen in 3.2. Party improvements. We were able to play together, quantum together. That's 3.2 was probably my favorite patch of the year because, like I said, we were starting to see the potential in 3.0 for this to actually be a video game, and then in 3.2 we really like started to feel like a game where we were actually playing with other people. You know, it was really, really nice. Yeah, so mining was an amazing, amazing ad as well. Now, I think mining definitely had its issues, and we're gonna get into what we liked and what we didn't like from 2018 as well. This is gonna be kind of a mishmash, but I do want to kind of run through what we actually got. Mining, party improvements, quantum linking, rendered texture, cool stuff, right? Mining was massively well implemented, and it's only been improved from every patch since it was implemented. 3.3, we got Hurston, our first planet in Star Citizen. Biomes, trees, life. Okay, another one of those potential things being realized, where it was like, you're standing around the game, you're looking around, and you're massively immersed, right? 3.3 was a rough patch. It had its bugs. Reminds me a little bit of 3.0, just a little bit, but a little bit of 3.0. So then, with that, you know, obviously I'm skipping over a lot of what 3.3 is. I think that's pretty fresh in our minds. 3.4 comes out, and we have, you know, a lot of bug fixes to what came into 3.3. Well, excuse me, I'm missing something massive in 3.3. OCS. Let's not skip that at all. Object container streaming, massively improved frame rates. That is another one of those feelings where the potential is starting to feel realized, right? It's starting to feel realized, where it was like, okay, I feel immersed. This feels like a real place, but it's not just about screenshots anymore. It's about looking around and being immersed in the game. I still think, you know, in my opinion, that we're lacking a lot of gameplay to fully realize that potential. We're still way, way far away from all that. But you had moments throughout the year where it was like, okay, the pieces are starting to come together, right? And then we have 3.4, which was basically a bug fix patch for 3.3, very similar to what 3.1 was for 3.0. But, you know, obviously Lorville Business District, amazing. We're able to see kind of them do something different than this used future look that we've been seeing since 2.0, basically. So overall, I think when you look back at the patch that we started with this year, we actually started with 3.0 this year, right? Like, let's really look back at that and think about where we were and where we are now. And it's quite incredible. And, you know, me personally, I don't have the greatest memory. And looking back at, you know, trying to look back, the things that I can remember in detail, I can only go so far as like 3.2. I don't remember the details of playing 3.0 that well. It feels like forever ago. And it's because, and I feel like it's because we've actually come so far. Now, real quick, I want to definitely say the things that I liked about Star Citizen is definitely the progress that they've made. I think some of their video content has improved massively. I think Calling All Devs is a really great show. It's definitely going to have its moments where it's not going to be great, but overall, it is a fantastic show, really great for the community. I think Around the Verse is got its pluses and minuses as well. I think for new backers and for old backers, I think it kind of hits both of those target markets. And with Sandy kind of playing the role of the older backer sometimes when talking to Chris, I think it's been really, really good. I think the things that we didn't like is kind of the way that they market the game right now, in my opinion. The $20 stream CitizenCon debacle, as well as just, you know, continued discussion about the game. They kind of market the game too much as this completed product sometimes, and then people come into the game and aren't really getting what they expected. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I am with that. And for me personally, what I really, really want to see from the future, and I'm going to end it here and we're going to start taking calls, is I really want to start seeing the pieces that are in the game now interacting with each other. Okay? And you start seeing that with Jumptown. And it can only grow from here. It can only get better from here, I hope. But Jumptown is a situation where you have combat, both in ships and on the ground. You have scanning. You have cargo. So you have mercantile people, you have combat people, all coming together to join in and play the video game. Now, I think the game doesn't support the kind of Jumptown effect that is in place right now as well as it should at the moment. Okay? But it can in the future if they do it right. And what I really want to see is them do it right. And doing it right is prioritizing gameplay. And by prioritizing gameplay, I mean exactly that. Is combining the current gameplay that we have in the game and adding new features to it. So when you bring in things like bounty hunting or criminality, you need to create that reason for doing it, right? So to be a criminal, for someone to jump Jumptown, there needs to be a benefit to doing it, right? So stealing someone's cargo, stealing someone's ship, a reason to actually disable someone's ship, right? Those are things that we need in the game now, or soon, I guess, you know? So what I expect from 2018, or at least what I hope, these are my hopes and dreams for 2018, is not all these systems to be so separate, right? I want there, when you blow up a mining ship, drop a bunch of rocks. Drop a bunch of rocks that you have to, they're all purple, which means that they can be, boom, extracted into another mining ship, maybe. Just drop a bunch of rocks. When you blow up a cargo ship, same thing. We don't have to disable the ship and have all these systems of transferring yet. But give a reason for there to be a pirate. And when then there's a reason for there to be a pirate, then there's a reason for someone to protect. Right? So then, but it needs to work within the confines of the game. Like they always talk about emergent gameplay in Star Citizen. While emergent gameplay is really important, I think they're passing the buck. And they've passed the buck the entire year on emergent gameplay being the gameplay in Star Citizen. In 2018, I want the gameplay to be the gameplay in Star Citizen. Emergent gameplay is going to happen, but I want the gameplay to, the gameplay features, the things that they're designing to be the gameplay, I guess. I don't know any other way to say it, and I'm going to leave it there. That's what I want for 2018. Obviously gameplay, obviously, expanded universe, like all these things that we want. We want the game to be realized. But I think within the confines of the current game that we have now, if we have the systems start talking to each other a little bit more, and I hope that becomes a priority for the year, I think we'll be really good. I think we'll be in a really, really good place. You know what I mean? So, all right, we're going to jump into the calls. We have our first caller, whose name in Discord is Emessar. So I'm going to use your Discord names on here. If you have a different Twitch name or something like that, I'm sorry, but Emessar, I'm going to pull you down. Emessar, welcome to Answer the Call, man. How you doing?
Oh, just fine. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, anytime, man. So I obviously gave a year in review. What did you think about this year? What's coming? And what do you think is coming? What's exciting you? So on. Whatever you want to say about this year, Feel free to say it. This year, next year.
Well, I think the big things that we got in this year, of course, mining and cargo, and I'm really counting 3.0 really as as 2018, even though it came in at the end of 2017.
It was
'cause
literally
for a lot of people wasn't
December
working.
27th,
Right.
2018, 2017. So it is a 2018
So
patch, in my opinion.
yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah.
I think having both of those mechanics in are really important.
hmm
Uh, Great things that we got. We got the multi-tool, which I'm looking forward to that being something that gets used more.
Yeah.
I really wanted in Korea. There's these cabinets and there's guns behind uh, in these cabinets that you can't get to, and I was really hoping that they would make that cabinet so that you could break into it with the multi, but they didn't appear to. So
And
uh,
remember, that actually used to be a cabinet that you take a mission to
right.
get the guns. It like
hmm
in so many situations, it's like we had like cool missions, and they kind of like took them away. Like cargo
A
was
little
actually
bit.
dynamic pricing when
Yeah.
it first came in. Now it's not. There's all weird things that are
It's
happening now.
and I think it's kind of coming back a little bit. I think you'll see that kind of tuning go back and forth so
Yeah,
that they can. A lot of it has to do with them having to calibrate. And seeing how things affect. Because you can do it on paper, but you're not really going to know until you do it in the game.
of course. Yeah.
Um, but let's see. Also, like carryable items,
Oh
and
yeah.
of course, stowable items.
hmm
We actually got pockets finally, apparently. So, I thought that was a great advance for us to have.
Yeah, like
Mission givers.
in 3.4, we were given pockets. I don't know if a lot of people know
Yes.
that, but there's like you can
Finally.
stow a few things, very very small things, but you have sort of an inventory right now. It's very very tier 0, I guess, without lack of a better word, but
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have somewhat of an inventory now, which is pretty cool.
It'll be nice when that expands a little bit, and maybe we can have a backpack or
Yeah.
some kind of bag that you carry around, and maybe have a few more items.
Yeah.
Um, see, essentially all of the mission givers that we have now were just in the last, and I think that adds a lot of life to the universe. I think that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Breaking through the OCS wall that we've been waiting for since 2016,
Yes.
because 3.0 was supposed to come in at the end of 2016.
With OCS in it, I'm
People don't
pretty sure.
remember. With no, originally 3.0 was supposed to come in at the end of 2016 with OCS and the entire Stanton. So I'm glad we have what we have now, but we have had to wait a little while.
Of course. I mean, I guess the
See,
big thing is a year in review is they're really terrible at either scheduling or planning or communication or many many things. But
yeah,
they did
and I
not
understand.
communicate the development of this game well to us at all this year. Until towards the end of the year, I think they are really starting to figure it out somewhat. And I just don't think each year seemed to get better, and then this year happened, and towards the end of last year. But then I think they're with the way we reacted to CitizenCon, I think they're going to be a little more careful this coming year.
Yeah, I think in most departments they've been getting better. I mean, that was of
Yeah.
course a bit of a stumbling block, but I felt like definitely accomplished a lot more this year than in 2017. Didn't really get anything in 20.
Yeah.
We
And
were
then going back to
playing.
2016, I mean, there wasn't anything
Yeah.
to get to, you know?
Well, I mean, we got some iteration and stuff on the 2.0 stuff.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, I mean it's nice to finally seeing the system sort of being built out and breaking through the OCS wall, and I kind of feel like maybe the floodgates are starting to open up a little bit.
Yes, and I
Do
would
they?
say, like, just like you said it, a little bit, but they're
Yeah.
starting to open, right? Like,
Mhm.
they're, like, cracked, and water's starting to flow through. We're like, and gameplay is trickling out, and, voice over IP came into Star Citizen in 3.3, and that is a major, major milestone, yet I wouldn't, and I'm quoting because I don't consider it in at all at this point. Yes, it's in the game. It sort of functions, but I would not call it in the game because players have to turn it on. Communication in game is like impossible via voice as far as I'm concerned. I mean, we just streamed before this and tried to do it, and nobody is communicating. We couldn't even communicate within our party when we're near each other. It was working for some people and not for others. So the
Mhm.
implementation of voice over IP, I wouldn't say is in. I would say it's
Yeah, I
functioning
honestly
somewhat.
I haven't tried that a whole lot
You know?
because everybody that I'm playing with always wants to use Discord.
Yeah.
Um, so I really haven't messed with it that much. I want to get a better camera so that I can actually do the VoIP and
Yeah.
FOIP uh, when it gets a little bit more developed and a
True.
little bit.
So what do you want to see from next year? What's like give two major things that you want to see from next year. And they could be broad if you want. That's fine.
I well, if I'm just zeroing in on two, I would say probably more locations.
Okay.
So like Core we know is on the map. I'd like to see Microtech. And also to complete at least one, if not two, of the pillars
Okay.
that they need to for completion of the game. I think the next one probably I'm guessing is going to be the organization.
Okay.
Um, but I could see them. I mean, in 2018, we essentially got between 3.0 and 3.3, we got four of those pillars.
Yeah.
So, I'm hoping they can get us at least two of them next year. Um, and just, if I were going to add other stuff, just deeper mechanic,
Yeah.
expanding the mechanics and
Like
having
for me
a larger variety and
the
stuff.
first thing that I thought about when you said more locations, I said, "Okay, fine, more locations." But now allow those locations to, have certain needs and wants from the other
Right.
locations. So then now you have people traveling cargo from one place to another. And then it ties back into what I said before. Well, if someone's traveling cargo from one place to another, then allow someone to interact with those people in a more piratey way, but give them a benefit for doing it. Like,
Mm.
even so far as if you kill them, the a portion, let's say 25% of the cargo that is in their ship just teleports into someone in your ship, in your party, some ship in your party. Like you can hand wavium it all you want. I don't care. But benefit the people that want to play on the seedier side or whatever. But yeah,
I agree. I think that would eliminate a lot of the arguments about griefing that we've been having this year.
yeah. I mean, I was
If
called a
people
griefer
could actually
today, and it
pirate.
was hilarious. But
Yeah.
the thing that I'm really arguing here is we essentially have a planet crusader, excuse me, where you land on Port Olisar instead of landing on the actual planet. But there's no real trade that makes sense from Olisar to Hurston and from Hurston to Olisar, right?
Yeah, not
And that's
so
so
much.
weird to me. Is you would have thought that would have been something like I would have said, okay, well, we have this cargo mechanic here, and this is definitely coming from a biased opinion. I love running cargo. Okay, I love it, love it, love it. So I'm very
Me
biased
too.
in this sense. But I would have thought the first thing that would have gotten done when they put in not only Hurston but also the rest stops is create a supply and demand, a wants and some and like import export needs from those locations, right? All the rest stops are going to need obviously things to make like a breathable atmosphere. They're going to need food, right? Stuff like that.
Mhm.
Hurston is going to have its needs, whatever it is. And obviously Port Olisar is going to have its needs. And why not make them like symbiotic? And I didn't see that, and I was very, very surprised to not see that this year. So,
Well, I was surprised that
or as an initial implementation, since both of those things are
all
in
of
the
the
game.
outposts in the Hurston area are all variants of mining outposts.
Yeah,
Like every moon, everything on Hurston was just they mine different things sometimes.
Yeah.
There was, I think there were maybe a couple things that I found. I think maybe Laranite's a little bit cheaper there. I think fluoride is a little.
Yeah, there's definitely like
Fluoride, fluorine.
you can go and
little bit of
there's
variation.
lists and you can find where people buy and sell. There's some places to do it, but just not enough. And
But-
it doesn't make as
and not
much
by-
sense, to
Right.
me. But emessar, do you have any like?
It doesn't warrant the extra time that you would spend
Yes, exactly.
to make that and that's most of the that
Yeah.
I had.
Cool. So you don't have anything else you want to add before I let you go?
Like swimming and water interaction.
You'd like to
I
see
think
swimming,
we
and
might
they
be-
mentioned that, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's on the Squadron 42 roadmap for next year, so I'm kind of hoping that makes it into Star Citizen.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for calling. I really do appreciate it.
Hey, no problem.
And I hope to see you on another Answer the Call soon. All right, man. Talk to you later.
All right.
All right. So now our next caller is Caman. Hopefully this works. Live. Bam. It does. Yay. All right, Caman. You're on Answer the Call, man. Welcome. And thank you for waiting.
Good morning, Twerk. Thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
I was actually under the impression that I should probably bow out of future episodes, even though I love participating and calling in. I really enjoy our conversations.
So let me give some context to that. I was talking a little bit before the podcast today, and I do want to hear your comments about this. Is we have two absolute all-star callers, and one decent one, IDD. Just IDD. He's decent. Caman and ASN, they call very regularly. They have fantastic opinions, and they have made the show what it is today. There's no denying it. But I was mentioning before the show that in order for the show to grow, we definitely need an influx of newer callers, because otherwise I might as well just have you three on and we do a podcast together. You know what I mean? So I just made that mention that it was like, we got it. And it was not a shot at you, Caman, at all, or ASN. It was more, hey, guys that are watching on the stream, don't be scared. Call in, share your opinions. That's all that was.
I understand that you wanted new opinions, but I was just kind of combining that with, basically over the past 2 weeks, you had said my calls were really long. And I don't know, I was just under the impression that maybe I should bow out. But if that's not it, then I'd love to call in again.
No.
But, I had 4 points to make today, 2 minor ones that are going to be pretty quick and 2 major ones. But if you want to end the call before that, that's fine.
All right, let's end it right now. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
So for me, overall this year, there were some major improvements, I think, in their PR, some good development progress. But for me, the first half of 2018 was actually really uneventful. It was all a blur. And this is in contrast with you loving 3.2. This is because I don't play the alpha.
It was a blur for me too. And I wonder if it was because it was so bad.
Yeah, I follow from a distance. So I don't have the perspective you do when it comes to playing the alpha. And that's why I was a bit hesitant to call in today, because I felt like people who actually play may have a bit more insight. But I do still have quite a few opinions about, the project in general. But things for me didn't become interesting until CitizenCon and OCS, obviously. And, the delay in 3.3 in combination with the Legatus pack that they released from, community vote stirred a lot of negative press, and it allowed that press to fester. It also allowed a lot of backers to be really bored because there wasn't a lot of content. So I was actually discouraged for a while, especially for the first portion of 2018, and that could be in contrast with a lot of backers. I don't know. Maybe I feel like I'm alone in that. Maybe I'm not sure, but
I don't think you're alone at
discouraged.
all. I think we were very bored at the beginning of
Yeah.
2018. You had a buggy 3.0 patch and an improvement to the buggy 3.0 patch, but no, I mean, literally the first 6 months of the year was 3.0, which was very limited missions. Cargo running was like completely unbalanced, but there was nothing you could spend the money on, right? There was not, like, when you look at what we have now versus what we had then, there was nothing then. And we're talking about playing at 20 frames a second. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, and
you are not alone, buddy, at all. I think we're
that's good
wanting
to
to
hear.
forget what what the beginning of the year was.
And I feel bad for I feel like a bit guilty for having that opinion because again with 3.0 it's kind of schizophrenic if you think about it because 3.0 introduced all of this ambitious content, this huge expansion of what the software performed, how it not performed in terms of FPS, but what it intended to do, what they intended to do with the game.
Yep.
It was this sort of balance between ambition versus the playability of that. And I think, again, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but
Yeah.
Alyssiana made a great review of 3.0. I encourage anyone to look at it because she very perfectly articulated how they're going for all this ambition, but I can't do anything. I can't open doors well. I can't interact with the game properly. And it really discouraged me hearing and seeing her demonstrate in the review, like the video footage of the play. Where are you going, CIG? Are you
Yeah.
able to accomplish this? Can you do this?
Yep.
And so I was really discouraged myself. And I think that when OCS dropped, the FPS improvements made the alpha more playable. It made, I don't play it, but obviously it did. It's very clear a lot of people experienced FPS improvements. You know, it made the streams more watchable. It just helped their image in general. It was a really, really good triumph, and it really did do a lot. It went a long way to justify the delays and the content drought because it really does make the game fun, even though there wasn't as much content as was promised. Just the fact that it's more playable and more accessible to various systems makes it a better product overall in the interim of them putting in more content. So that was point number one. And for point number two, I just wanted to briefly talk about CitizenCon and ATV. Again, the fiasco with the streaming tickets.
Because Star Citizen is not only a video game, it's this community, and it's kind of a phenomenon as well, right? So the year in review has to encompass the community content that's put out every year. Because in some cases, that, and definitely at the first half of 2018, that was more important than what was actually in the game, right? So that's why I wanted to encompass that, and I'm glad you're talking about it. So sorry for interrupting. Continue, please. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the fiasco with the streaming tickets, I was actually really triggered over that. I felt the same way you did. I felt the same way a lot of other people did. And I was really salty over that. And I think that, and this all went back to their poor messaging. It wasn't because what they were trying to do was wrong. It was that they messaged it in a way that was utterly insulting. And I think that Chris Roberts coming out and making that post on Spectrum where he admitted to the poor messaging and took full responsibility and explained everything, it showed that he really
I don't know if he
listened.
took full responsibility, but yeah.
Well, he did take responsibility to an extent that I felt was satisfactory.
I thought he put
And
a
it
lot of
showed-
blame on us, and that pissed me off.
It showed to me, though, that he listened enough to the community to where he was able to shelf his ego, which is not easy to do as someone like Chris Roberts, that has all this, executive directing power as the CEO of the company. He's both the head of the company in terms of its operations and the head of the project. So someone with all this ambition, all this ego, I'm just looking at it in context. It is very hard proportionately for a person like that to shelf that, even enough to where they extended the branch that they did and say, look, here's what I was trying to plan. And, it didn't work out as planned, but I'm going to just, not do it anymore. And I feel like it's interesting watching kind of the interaction of the community. It showed that we were still behind him. We still supported his vision to make CitizenCon bigger. A lot of people still bought the
I bought
CitizenCon
two
goodie package.
I bought two of them
and
because of the
shows you-
apology. And even
Yes.
I wasn't happy with the apology. I still was like, this is the way you should have done it, and I would have bought enough of them if you did do it this way in the first place. So I'll support
Yeah.
it. You know?
Yeah, it shows how amazing this community is and how supportive we continue to be. And again, we talked about, I mentioned in the previous podcast, my concerns of the unilateral power that he had and how that kind of tied into the investment deal, which I'll get into soon. But it really eased my concern that he wasn't just going around ham-fisting his unilateral power. He really was listening to some extent in a way that was actually consequential, and he took an action that I think showed a good compromise.
Yeah.
And but anyway, about the actual CitizenCon presentation, I felt that the keynote was impressive, but the panels were more interesting. I like that Tony Z further clarified his goals for subsumption in the economy. It really does help us to not have to speculate too heavily. I mean, there still is a degree of speculation. We don't get to see how that stuff is going to work. Yeah, but we at least have a better, clear explanation of, okay, we plan on simulating all these AI in the background and then backloading those tasks, not actually actualizing these AI until this happens with probability values. Like, it was a very logically laid out, broad explanation of what they plan to do. I felt that was very helpful to people like myself who really wanted to understand how it was going to work. Another thing I liked was the immediately playable concept ships. I didn't buy any, but I felt like that was a move that showed that their internal pipeline and their process of connecting the marketing and selling process with the shipbuilding process was very, very efficient. It's very well optimized. So props to them on getting that tighter and making that transition really smooth. And finally, with regard to the ATV, I felt like you said, they were a bit shaky for a while, but I like that they finally landed on a good point, a good format with Sandy and Chris. I think that their conversations are just as good as the features that they do, because
if not better,
concern. Yes, if not better,
because they take, like, the features are more for the community as a whole, where, you know, people that are just coming in and finding out about the game, as well as people that are currently in the game, because it's like, oh wow, cool, right? Cool stuff. But when Sandy sits there and, you know, says, well, these are the concerns of the community right now, and then just asks Chris Roberts about them, like, we don't need an RTV with Chris Roberts for an hour anymore, where they just fire through all these topics, some of them that are like dead topics that nobody even like is concerned about anymore, because we haven't seen him in a while. We get Chris every week, and we get a little tidbit of the issues that we have each week.
Yeah, and that's format. Exactly right. And I love Jared, and the hard work that he does. And, you know, I think he is an asset to CIG, undoubtedly.
Me too.
But watching him gloss over with, you know, this glossy, you know, well-glazed PR speak and the really extended sort of pontificating that they do on the RTVs, it's unbearable sometimes for me.
Me too.
And I feel like Sandy just saying, this is broken, what are you going to do about this? I was like Monka-esque when she came out like that the first time. I was like, whoa, because you're not used to seeing people talk to Chris, address Chris in that way. And you're also not used to seeing Chris respond to those things because they never get asked in that way. So I love that format. I feel like it's real.
He also looks like kind of freaked out about it too.
Yeah,
sometimes.
And he should be.
Yeah,
he should be. He should be taken into account, and he handles it well. Though he knows his stuff. Yeah. He knows, he has his pulse on everything, and it's nice to have Sandy there to tap him for those fast responses and to keep it manageable and in a good format. So I love ATV right now. I'm actually fine if they don't do features anymore. I'm fine if they just do Sandy and Chris talking. Well, I want to see some, you know, demos of the tech that they're doing, but I don't mind actually, because I used to sit down. I didn't imagine I would spend this much time talking about ATV, but I used to like sit down, and it was a dinner event for me. I would eat my meal and watch it as a full episode, but I can actually sacrifice that now and just deal with the Sandy and Chris. So I think it's, you know, it's a great format. But moving on to Jumpdown, the introduction of Jumptown. Again, I don't play the alpha. I'm just an outsider.
What's funny is it's been there since 3.0.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's ironic for me, because it's like, you know,
it's always been there.
It really exposed a lot of stuff, and we're starting to see, like you said, like you touched on, this emergent gameplay with extortion, and it coincides with today's stream. People in Spectrum making threads talking about, oh, look at what I did to harass these people in Jumptown trying to hurl drugs. I'm a pirate. I'm not a griefer. And in ATV, it also reiterated this emergent gameplay, therefore it's intended. Chris called it emergent gameplay as well. You touched on this in your intro. But it brings up this pirate versus griefer debate, which I think is largely a semantic debate. It's a definitional debate.
Yes.
Because we don't have a commonly agreed understanding of what these terms mean. I don't think we ever will, but that's exacerbated by the fact that there's no consequential systems to punish criminal behavior in the game right now. So I'm hoping for fleshed out probability values, bounty hunting, reputation systems, all this stuff that's coming in 3.5 or planned to come in 3.5, or at least in its tier 0 implementation, could address these things, because I can see it becoming a big problem. And this is one of my major points. I can see the whole balance between I don't want to call it griefing, let's just call it pirating, and the effect that has on, day-to-day industry and all that, getting really out of hand and becoming a big problem. Like, we're talking pay-to-win fleets dominating lucrative points of interest everywhere if they don't make a consequential, robust, responsive reputation and law system that they're planning.
Because, we were able to not easily, but easily take command of Jumptown, because most people are going there solo or with 2 people, and we had like 5 or 6. Imagine when it's like 20. And now when you have 20, you literally have half of the server there already.
Yeah, and to be honest, I actually think that, and this is going to sound a bit contradictory, but I'll explain my logic. I actually think it's okay for you and like your band of viewers, like just a small handful of people, to control an area like that. That makes sense, at least right now. Maybe when server meshing and the population increases, that won't make sense anymore, because there'll be larger factions to do that. But I actually think that an area like Jumptown, it makes sense. It's a secret drug lab, or quote unquote secret drug lab. But I'm extrapolating this out. You understand what I mean? Like, I'm using that as an example, and I'm saying, if they don't put a lid on this with better systems, then it can get out of hand, and that's what concerns me a bit. And I'm also looking forward to that end for tier 0 scanning mechanics, because it touches everything. Scanning mechanics touches basically everything. Exploration, pirates use it to pick out their targets. You use it to pick out, players use it to pick out missions, points of interest, to get more fidelity on the things that they're scanning. So I really want to see how that works and how that feels to the people who play the alpha, because I feel like that's going to be important. And my last point is the future of CIG. And this is regarding their recent investment in the financial release that we talked about last week. There is an argument I've seen going around, and even during the last podcast, that CIG needs consoles to stay afloat. And this invokes memories of the PS4
that comment
kit controversy. Go ahead, sorry.
Just that comment, I was like, no.
Wait, what do you mean? Which comment?
Somebody made that comment on the last YouTube.
Yeah. Well, somebody had said that they need consoles, and I immediately thought of the PS4 dev kit controversy. This was when there was like a 10 for the chairman or an 18. There was some sort of video where you could clearly see a PS4 dev kit, and the community freaked out. And I was triggered too. We all freaked out almost universally. And this is because we thought that they were trying to make a console port. And this was years ago. This was like 2015, 2016. And I think Chris Roberts basically had to come out and explain in a 10 for the chairman what he planned to do. And in doing that, he said that, he reiterated that he pitched this game as a PC-centric game. He stated that if the game is going to be ported, it's going to be part of a singular server platform. Everyone needs to play in the same space. The console hardware that it's ported to needs to be able to run all of the full simulation and AI with absolutely no downgrading. It needs to run as it does in parity with the PC version. And this is what's most important, he said that if he were to port the game, he explained to Sony, and by extension Microsoft, that he would demand a financial commitment for them in order to support the port of the game and the engineering required to do that. Because I don't, and neither does Chris Roberts, or I think any reasonable backer, wants their funding to be used to pay for a console port. I'm ideologically opposed to it.
Me too.
And that just is what it is. Don't use my backing funds to make a console game. That's not what you pitched us. So even though I understand that this game may not be PC exclusive forever, I do understand that. That's not the same thing as using initial backer funding for a product that you haven't released yet to port it to a different platform. So don't do that. However, that argument is stuck in the back of my head, like the whole console debate. It makes me worry a little bit because I'm unsure how they'll be able to become significantly profitable to justify, the recent investment and the company staying as big as it is. It's obvious that Squadron will need to shore up their revenue through the release of the PU.
Yeah.
And then I presume they'll switch over to relying on their monetization of Star Citizen to continue its development and future Squadron episodes. But I don't know if that'll be enough. So it does stick in the back of my head.
Well, and specifically the fact that the game has taken, it's not 2016. We're answering the call now in 2020, maybe 2021 at this point. So the big issue is now, does a console port start to make more sense? As around that time, I would expect to start hearing about a new Xbox, PS5, right?
Yeah.
So
I think it does.
And it's not cool because we didn't. Again, I think you and I and the rest of the community are going to agree on this, is that we don't want them to spend our money to port the game over. You do that after you release a game on PC, then you port it, right? Then you take your profits and you turn your profits into more profits with porting. Don't take my backing money and turn that into a console port. You need to take my backer money and turn it into the game that I backed for first.
Absolutely.
That's how I feel about it, and I doubt much of the community feels otherwise. And the thing is you take our backer money and you turn it into a console port, they're going to make more money. So it's tough to sit here and say that because it would benefit the project longer term, probably. Right?
I'm completely open to a console port, but
just
after
do it right.
they release the damn PC game, the PC versions of the game, we feel we're on the same wavelength there.
Yeah.
I think that they can be very successful. I feel like it's all about timing. If they do it wrong, I'm triggered forever, and I very much dislike CI doing that. If they do it afterwards, I'm all for it. Bring more people into this community. Bring the console community in afterwards when the hardware matures and after the next console cycle. Makes perfect sense. But thanks for having me on, Twerk.
No problem, Caman. And yes, don't feel the way you felt. You're silly. I definitely didn't mean it in a negative way to have you on at any point. Like, I wouldn't be here without you, man. So call in as much as you like.
I love the show.
Yeah,
a lot, and I love our conversations. So
me too.
I always
I hope to have them weekly. Trust me. Okay. I love you, man. Happy New Year. All right. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Take care.
Be good. All right. Our next caller is Shadowhunter 255. Sorry, 255. Change that. There it is. And Shadowhunter, you're on Answer the Call. Welcome, buddy.
How are you, Chuck?
Good, and you?
Not bad at all. I thought one of the major harms that we had was object container streaming. I think that was the major thing that we got this year. We got a lot of quality of life improvements lately, which was good.
The party stuff was huge.
Yeah.
If you had friends, the party stuff was amazing.
Yeah. What I'd like to see them do with next year, I'd like to see them really narrow Squadron 42 down.
Okay. That's not something I mentioned or anyone else has so far.
Yeah, really get that going because I think that's going to help them really with the game.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the flight model. I want to see that. I want to see what you said with the missions and stuff too.
I think a lot of people I hear this constantly when streaming and in the YouTube channel and just on Twitter and stuff too, is everyone's like, well, when the new flight model comes, I think a lot of people think it's going to be the end all be all. Obviously, guys, when the new flight model comes, it's going to get tweaked, and no matter what, there's always going to be improvements done to it and tweaks going to be done to it. I think a lot of people are putting a lot of onus on the new flight model coming early next year, and I think some people are going to be upset at some point, with certain ships, or it's not what they expected, blah 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 blah. I want to see the new flight model, because we all know, no matter what, that what we have now isn't good enough. Right? It just doesn't work. But we obviously know it's not going to be in great shape, because it was planned for the end of the year up until recently. And then it got pushed. So obviously there's some issues with it,
Well, one of the guys in our org was actually at CitizenCon.
So he tried it.
He actually got to play the flight model, yeah.
All right.
And he said it was actually really good. He said it is, ships handle vastly different than what they do now.
Okay. Obviously, there's going to be a learning curve.
Yep. But he said, as flying it, he said, I can't remember who it was one of the guys out of sync. He turned around and he said that, it was very well done. So I want to disagree with that. And the reason why I'd like to see the flight model in is because the stuff for Squadron with the AI and stuff which is also, I want some of them to focus on the AI, that is relying on this new flight model, because they need that, because then they can say, okay, this is how the ships are going to handle, and then they can go through and start programming. And I really, even if if we get Art Corp and we get we get those sort of places, which is great, but I really want them to get that AI done and get this Squadron out, because man, there's a lot of people out there that are taking shots at the game because of the time frame and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If we can get Squadron out, say first, second quarter 2020, that I think will silence a lot of the critic.
Well, and not only is it important for Squadron, right? But now you're talking about AI in the persistent universe portion of the game that, like I said before, we keep hearing emergent gameplay from them. And again, they are really kind of passing it off as the game. And the game is never, we're not supposed to interact with each other as much as we're forcing ourselves to now, because there is no good interactions with the NPCs. For those of you that are currently playing in 3.4, you know that if you go and do a bounty hunter mission, that guy just stands there and lets you kill him. It's it's not how we want the game to work, obviously, right now. So obviously improvements to the AI are going to be massively important to making the game feel like a game as a whole, because I think what we really need is more interaction with NPCs in the game than more gameplay features added necessarily, for me.
Yeah.
Because I think that there is just about enough where you can play the game of Star Citizen if you're getting those interactions on a regular basis, right? Like everyone, me included, these travel times, they're ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. And it's going to be it is going to be a big topic for next week. So for those of you that don't know, next week's topic is going to be, I still can't figure out what the title is going to be, but it is Star Citizen ignoring solo players, basically. And I think the travel time for a solo player with a smaller ship is kind of insane. But what if we're interacting with NPCs more often during those travel times? There's a lot of again, we have a lot of features that are very separate, but they're not quite speaking to each other yet. Like I remember when we first had Star Citizen, and I'm sorry, Shadow, I'll let you speak in a second, but I'm just on this verbal diarrhea moment. The ideas are just flowing. Is I remember when we first started playing Star Citizen, how they pitched it to us was, okay, you have Arena Commander, this is PvP. Okay, you have Star Citizen 2.0, this is your PvE sort of mission stuff. And then you have the planet module or whatever, right? Well, I forget, planet side module is what they called it. And eventually they were going to take all three of those and put them together. And they sort of did. But there's still a lot of those elements of those three core elements of the game that don't communicate with each other well enough yet. And I think we have like a lot of enough features there. You have mercantile things, like you don't have all of them with salvaging and stuff like that, but you do have cargo running and you do have mining. So you have some things that tickle the kind of trader types, right? You have a potential for voice over IP to be working. You have amazing vistas and beautiful places to go. You do have a sort of vast universe already, and you have PvP. But like you said, we need a better flight model, obviously, and we need those things to communicate with each other. And that'll always go back to what I want to see from 2019 is I want to see those things start to become more symbiotic with each other than as separate as they are now. But continue. I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine. What I was actually going to say, and this is something that I've been playing around with in my head for a while, is I when you say stuff like that, I think they're further along than what they're showing people.
Well, yeah, I would think internally they have a lot more, but it's just not functioning properly yet.
Well, I don't know if it's not functioning or if they're not showing us because they don't want us to go through and to sort of they don't want us to go through and get sick of it. That they want to sort of keep it under wraps as a surprise. But this is something that I was actually going to message you actually, and maybe a suggestion for maybe another episode of as the call. But like I say, I'd really like to see that flight model, and I think it was you that was saying, I think it was you that you would like quarter 3 just to be like quality of life improvements. Was that you or was that Sidera? It might have been you.
I don't know if I wanted a certain. I didn't choose a certain time, but I wanted to see a big dump, and then a patch where they fix things, and then a big dump, and then a patch where they fix things. I like the kind of TikTok approach.
Yeah, it might have been Sidera that was saying. Someone was saying, I can't remember who it was now. The first 2 quarters, he likes the big dumps, and then the third quarter around CitizenCon to be quality of life improvement. I'd like to see him keep doing stuff like that. I like the around the verse, all those sort of things. I think they're great. I've been going through a lot of the old episodes, and there's a lot of information in there that sort of got glossed over and people didn't realize that. So, like I say, I think they're doing everything right at the moment, and I think that I sort of learnt from previous experience not to go overestimating themselves. And I think that's one thing that Chris really does need to sort of focus on is, tone down on the, hey, we're going to have it out in 3, version 3, and we're going to have OCS and everything all in that version 3.0, and then version 3.0 drops. It was late, it was buggy, and then we didn't have object container streaming, and it's sort of
take a gander at this. This goes back to our topic a while ago that was called "Is Star Citizen 2 open?" And this is why I feel the answer is yes. Chris doesn't use the roadmap and this openness about their development timeline as something for us necessarily. It's not to calm us down or to get us excited about something. It is to push his team towards goals. So that roadmap and all those things that we've seen every year that have disappointed us, because as the community, there's no doubt in my mind that at some point with some feature, every single one of us has been disappointed. It's because it's not for us. He is taking his internal roadmap and showing it to us. He's taking what he uses to push his team as hard as he possibly can to put out the game that he wants. But he uses that for us too. And that's where it doesn't work. And that's why we get disappointed, is because we fail to realize that. That's what it is. And he's said that so many times. Is that it is our internal roadmap. It's our internal roadmap. And he's even said it on RTV, I believe, that we use these to push the team towards goals. When Brian Chambers used to come on my stream often, he said that more than anyone, and it never really, I never understood it. Like, he would say it, but it never clicked with me. And then one day it actually clicked, and it was one day very recently that's what it was, is they use those things, because I would always say while Brian was here, and I'd kind of put him on the spot and say, this doesn't make sense to me. Why would you do this? Why would you do something where you know you can't achieve it? Like, I knew you couldn't achieve it. You must have known you couldn't achieve it. And he's like, well, it's to push the team. I was like, oh, So
see, that makes a lot of sense too, and that's something that I didn't realize.
Yeah,
Like I say, yeah.
But
So that does sort of make a lot.
We're still gonna get that disappointment in 2019. Like,
yeah.
I need to set a New Year's I'm gonna set my New Year's resolutions tomorrow. I'm gonna think about them today and share them tomorrow. And I think one of them really has to be to really take everything that's there with a grain of salt, because you have to actually recognize what it's for. Its use isn't for us. They just use it because we're so rabble all the time about things. So it's like, here, fine, shut up. That's really what it is. Is like, here, just shut up. This is it. All right.
It's like the Squadron 42 thing. He's put out these goals and stuff like that for the AI, but it's all very much depending on him having another 4 programmers.
Exactly. Yeah.
If he doesn't get those 4 programmers, then Squadron 42 will be delayed again.
Yep.
And that's the last thing I want. Because like I said, I've got people at work that are like that. They're like, "Oh, you're playing Star Citizen again like tonight," and I'm like, I'm going home to play it again tonight because with the org it's a lot more fun, stuff like that. And they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm waiting for it to finish before I jump into it." And it's like, I get it. I get why people don't want to jump into it straight away.
Nobody's waiting for it to finish. They're just waiting for it to fit what they want it to be.
Yeah. Well, waiting for it to get.
Because Chris said it, and I believe it. The game's already released. There's never really gonna be this like release, I don't think, in terms of like traditional releases. It's going to be a lot like how DayZ was. Okay, it's going gold 1.0, blah blah blah. But and there's going to be some hype around it, but it's not going to be a release of a game, at this day, at this time. I just don't see it.
I think when they go through and they finally get it fully all working and synced together, and they do that last reset, to me, that is the game being released.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
But yeah, and I think a lot of people are sort of waiting for that day because, and it's frustrating having and I should probably let you get onto the next calls, but it's frustrating having people going through and having your account reset every 3 months.
Yeah.
Like we go through and we get a whole stack of Willow, we buy a whole stack of Willow, we sell it to Grimhex or Lesky or whatever it may be, and then by the time we're starting to get some serious money up, all of a sudden, the accounts reset.
Yeah,
and it's just like back to square one again. So
yeah,
but yeah,
and
but
that is going to be a topic of Answer the Call as well. I have some things in 2019 with that one. But all right, Shadowhunter, thank you so much for calling, man. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day and have a happy New Year.
Same to you, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Okay, I have no idea how to say this guy's name, so good luck. Wrzlprnft. I can't say your name, dude. Can you please pronounce your name before we start anything here?
Most go with just something like Wrzl.
Wrzl.
It's actually like based on a joke about nonsensical words, so I guess there is no way to pronounce it.
You have to pronounce it before we can start this call.
Wrzlprnft.
Wrzlprnft. Okay, perfect. Wrzlprnft, welcome to Answer the Call. All right. So what do you think about this past year, and what do you want to see from the future in 2019?
So I'll have to start and say that I just joined actually as a backer in May of 2018.
This is really cool. Most people that call are longtime backers. So this will be very interesting to hear your thoughts on things.
So, yeah, like the reasons were partially because my old, like 7-year-old computer broke down in January.
Thank God.
So I had to get a new motherboard and whatnot. The second reason is that I started to work next to studying at university, so I got a bit more money to actually spend.
God damn it!
As hard as it sounds, like
you need money to play the game.
It's not about playing the game, but like with a 7-year-old computer and no money, you don't want to get into it.
It makes sense.
And with the quarterly patches, like I read into it and what happened in the past, I had the feeling that there would be some sort of, like, you could measure the rate of change. Before, with it being more feature driven and not there, like in terms of updates, you couldn't really like measure their internal rate of change, rate of improvements. But with 3.0 and 3.1, I think I joined with the free flight event in 3.1.
Okay. If you don't mind me asking, how did you find out about Star Citizen?
I was playing Elite Dangerous for a while.
Okay.
But it lacked the atmosphere for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was basically at one day just looking through Twitch, looking for space games with a bit more atmosphere and trying to get a feel of it, and stumbled across a streamer I watched for other reasons, and he apparently was like a backer in 2015 or so.
Okay.
And decided to revisit the game after 3.0. And I stumbled into one of his streams, and I was immediately hooked, just because of the all about immersion thing.
And nothing about the. Well, I want you to continue on like the rate of change and like when you finally were like, okay, I'm ready to back the game, because you backed in 2018, so the course of 2018 is what led you to back. So keep telling your story with that. I'm so interested. This is so different than what we normally have.
So I just got I think it was a Mustang starter package in early May, and I was like, yeah, that's enough, and let's see where it goes, because if this is I'm studying game programming.
Okay.
Like the programming stuff, and want to work in that field. So I, in the past, just dreamt up games. One day I want to make myself if they're not existing.
Okay.
And I really like those crew simulation games, like where, like, if it's Guns of Icarus Online or Sea of Thieves, more or less, but like where you like the multi-crew aspect.
Yep.
And I played Elite Dangerous, and it was like this with multi-crew and like the epicness of a Star Wars setting or something, like more cinematic and not like hard sci-fi.
Yeah.
So when I came across Star Citizen, I was immediately hooked, and then I was like, yeah, if this turns out to be like a thing I want, I would see myself supporting it a bit more.
Okay.
So then I was like, okay, let's wait for the next 2 quarterly patches.
Okay.
But then my computer broke down again, the new one, because basically one of the RAM modules,
because you played Star Citizen,
would crash. One of the new RAM modules would crash if it had to help the graphics card as graphics memory.
Okay.
So my experience with Star Citizen, the first 1.5 months, was, since it was the only program I had that reliably overloaded my graphics memory,
you couldn't play.
I used it to troubleshoot, because I
Gotcha.
didn't know it was the RAM module, because the RAM module would
Wow.
pass through
Somebody
the
actually
RAM
found a
module.
use for Star Citizen. You're the
Yeah,
first
because, like,
person.
no, because like sometimes it would, like, if I would open any other game, or if it would, the computer would run for 2 hours without error, and the RAM module passed through all the RAM module tests. I switched the motherboard again. I bought a new graphics card.
Yeah.
And all the stuff. And Star Citizen was the only thing I could reliably use to troubleshoot, until I found that if, like, that one RAM module is missing from the computer, the game runs more or less. And if the other one is inserted, it always crashes. So yes, I found a use.
Okay.
But that led to myself more like looking outside of the game and like getting information from others. And then I basically stuck, to get it back on point, stuck with the rate of change thing. So I focused on, okay, where was 3.0?
Yeah.
Where was 3.1 where I joined, and where was 3.2 going?
Yeah.
And I pretty much loved what I saw.
Yeah.
Because coming from a kind of programming background, I think some nuances I have a more intuitive understanding than some other backers. Like, I'm not claiming to be a professional, but like, oh hey, it feels like they're trying to do it proper.
Yeah.
Like
And a lot
when
of
it
the
comes
programmers
to,
come on and say the same thing.
yeah, it's like one thing that really impressed me was like with the sound stuff. I don't know if you ever try to place a box on top of another player, like the delivery box. But if you place it on top of another player, you actually hear a really soft thump sound of the box hitting the helmet.
Yes.
And it's just like such a little detail, but it's like you cannot do those details like one by one, and like make just a patchwork of these details on a programming level. I'm talking about make a patchwork of these details, because you'll miss out on so many of them. You have to program a solid sound engine below. And that is what like impressed me, like these little nuances where either someone spent weeks programming little nuances in, or they're trying to go for a really solid approach.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now, what do you
with the
expect
rate
from
of change-
2019?
Okay, yeah, sorry, I talk a lot sometimes.
Okay.
From 2019, I expect they're really doubling down on Squadron 42.
Okay.
With a focus on, actually, I think the mission and shooter gameplay, and the AI are the three larger parts, with the flight model, but that's not solely Squadron. And with the AI, yeah, being the most important point, where they really need to get the most iterations to really get it solid. Because I feel like the space games these days, like No Man's Sky, Elite Dangerous, suffer from this like wide as an ocean but deep as a puddle syndrome. And Star Citizen's solution is have enough AI in there to provide play space for everyone. So it's not wide as an ocean, it's maybe just wide as a lake, but it's deep enough for everyone due to AI. So they really need to get this down.
I agree. I thought about it. I didn't think about it until like this show more, that like getting subsumption and the AI part of at least interacting more with all the systems that we have is really, really important.
Yeah. And the one thing I'm actually looking, from my personal point of view, back to the rate of change and stuff forward in 2019, is how their pipelines are going to evolve. Like I think Caman said, with the flight ready ships like the Arrow and the Valkyrie, like the ship pipeline basically almost caught up to the marketing going forward with concept, and like the ship pipeline is really coming together where they're doing those. And I'm looking forward to like basically the other pipelines evolving a similar way. Now, a lot of people are complaining that 99% of Loreville are like cardboard box background. And I really would like to see like environment building pipelines
Yeah, and I think maybe with
to evolve.
R-Corp.
Yeah, with
We're
R-Corp,
seeing it evolve,
but
right? On
in
just
general,
last
yeah.
week's ATV or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I really like the idea that Lorville, as we see it now, is basically the old 300i, the old Starfarer interior,
Yeah.
where it's just like the first go at something.
Tier
And,
0.
yeah, and with the pipelines themselves evolving, not only the results evolving and getting better, but the pipelines themselves. So things come together a little better. And yes, and I think I noted down one more thought. Oh yeah, about the release topic. RimWorld had its release this year with 1.0.
Yeah.
Which basically the game is great and it could be ever evolving, but they actually, I think, reached every goal in the Kickstarter campaign that was like 5 years ago. And then they said, well, that's 1.0.
Yeah.
So I think
we'll have a similar release.
For Chris' mental health and in general, it would be good that they at some point call it in terms of like, it's not they're not finished with it, but it's done. Like they need to set themselves like this. Now we have everything in the Kickstarter, or now we have everything in the Kickstarter that's still valid.
Yeah.
And what point where it's like, okay, Squadron 42 episode 1, 2, 3 or whatever is out, but like this is Star Citizen as it was supposed to be, and now we can build on top of that. The marketing and whatever may make a soft release way earlier when all the tech pillars are in, but I think they really need, and for Chris himself, he really needs at some point this done feeling, this now we have achieved the damn thing and now we make it better.
Yeah, it's funny because I disagree somewhat where for me, I always say, why not make what you have currently really fun? And then that gives you more time. That gives you all the time you need. Is if what you have is enjoyable and playable and fun, then you have all the time you need to make those pillars. No one's going to be rushing you to do anything. So if you want to do a project this way, you need to make the current product there enjoyable. And I know they're trying. They definitely are trying to do that, but they haven't been successful yet, in my opinion.
Yeah. I for myself, I agree. Like with the scope creep and stuff, they should have just like focused a bit earlier, a bit more.
Yeah.
But I think for like general perception, this thing needs to have a release just because the fact that it was said it's not doable so many times. So it really needs a release in terms of that's everything. But I personally like not like Elite Dangerous does it with where they're adding like more one vertical sliced thingy and then the next part and then the next part. That's a bit too okay, now we're done, let's do the next thing. But more like, let's say Stellaris, where they have stuff that's fun and then they released it in the game it was, and now they're adding on top of it and making it more fun, but it was a solid game when it came out.
Yeah. And Stellaris is great. I love Stellaris. But all right, man, I'm going to let you go because we have one more caller, and we're definitely way over time, I think, today. Especially because we had some technical hurdles in the beginning. But I'm really happy you called. You were first-time caller, right? So we have had a couple today, I think. And I appreciate it, and I hope you call again in the future. And
I'll try. It's just very quick. I'm not talking a lot now. I'm calling from a tablet because I'm away from my usual setup when the stream happens. So I just
you sound great.
I'll try.
You sound great. Cool. It came in perfect. So it was a very good call, man. Well, don't worry about it. You can call anytime.
For having me on the show.
Yeah. Happy New Year, bud.
To you too.
Wrzlprnft. Wrzlprnft.
Yes.
All right. And our next caller is Iddkfa. And there he is. IDD, welcome to Answer the Call, bud.
Yo, what up? What up?
What up, dude?
I'll make it quick.
Okay.
So my recap, the positives. Definitely was OCS.
Of course.
Because with the low frame rates, or because of the low frame rates, I didn't play
Yeah.
much at all.
And you
'cause
play
it-
now. You pop in and play with me, which I'm very surprised.
Yeah, I have some fun here and there. So OCS was really big,
Yeah.
and I really, really hope that was the last major implementation, the last big roadblock for them.
To start kind of making the game, right?
Yeah, just add new gameplay, other professions, everything that, I mean, OCS touched literally everything, right?
Yeah.
So I hope that's the last major implementation they have to make.
Obviously, like ASN is saying in Twitch chat, like server meshing is a big one. Because we don't have an MMO yet. But I mean, I think you and I would agree, we don't quite have a game yet. Right? But I think a lot of the features that we have constitute a game. I just don't think they work well enough together to constitute a game. But Lego pieces are all there. We just have to connect them. To have a game, to have like a Sea of Thieves style of game, like a small server, interacting with certain people and NPCs, but not the game that we backed for yet, obviously,
Yeah, and as important as server meshing is, it shouldn't be too much of a blocker for other gameplay mechanics, like OCS was.
Okay, so that's the point you're making, is that OCS was a big hurdle because it was blocking other gameplay. Okay, okay, I understand now.
Well, at least that's what I think. What happened. Then we got some additional gameplay working, and I say working because some of it was already in the game for quite some time.
Yeah,
but they got it fixed now. Also, the first hints of what multi-crew, or rather the multiplayer experience, could look like is pretty good.
Hammerheads are fun to fly with,
Yeah. And I think mining, for its first implementation, I think it was amazing. It was much more than I expected.
Yes, that was definitely a surprise at how good it was. I was like, okay, I'm really excited for mining, but it's probably going to be bad, and it was not, And it keeps getting better, which is great about it. And I just hope they keep doing with other things like they did mining. I hope that wasn't a one-off.
Yes, we can hope that the other professions are designed and play just as good.
Yeah.
So let's come to the bads, and that's where expectation meets reality. And I think the expectation is always set by the roadmap at the beginning of the year. And maybe you have a point. Maybe the roadmap is not for us, and just for like Chris Roberts' way of pushing the team to bring some urgency. But first of all, it's at our expense. So
absolutely,
I don't like that.
Yeah, that's the huge negative about it. Is he gives it to us because we wanted it, but it's definitely to our expense.
Yes. And why I think it's bad is because I feel it's very misleading for new backers who maybe account for some delays, if at all, but not delays for a year or more. So I feel like they get baited.
Yeah.
They see the roadmap, oh, that's coming next month, and that's coming in 2 months. And the reality is not really. Especially gameplay parts take a long time. So I hope for 2019 with a big chunk of OCS. Of course, they're still working on OCS, but with a big chunk of OCS being out of the way, I hope they really get closer to their internal estimates. And I mean, I personally don't see them as estimates, but more like intentions.
Yeah.
Like, this is our priority.
This is what we'd like to
what we're
do.
going to do. Yeah, exactly. And
But I'm not sure that they
when
have
we implement it,
a full plan
we don't
of
know.
actually getting it done in that time frame. Or they may have a plan, but it's not like I don't know if they truly feel like they can get it done.
I remember when what was it, CitizenCon 2017, when they wanted to show the vertical slice for Squadron 42.
Yeah.
And we had all the shows after they canceled the show. Many leads actually said to Chris Roberts, yo, dude, I don't think we can make it.
Yeah.
And I feel like he completely ignored them.
Yeah.
And it's like, I want it, and you make
And
it.
you're gonna do it. Yeah.
But without any reason or any, I don't want to say trust in his leads, but I felt like he ignored their judgment, if
Okay.
it's makeable or not.
I think he is definitely the nicest way I could say it is like an eternal optimist. Like he thinks it can happen. Like in his mind, he thinks they can do it, or it's possible. If I really push them, they'll do it. You know.
Oh, he's definitely an optimist. Yeah.
And it's
but
always
a
to
fault.
our detriment. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always to our detriment. We're the ones that hurt for it because we hope and get excited. You know.
Yes, and I feel it sometimes feels like he wants to keep us interested in the project,
Yeah.
gives us a little sunshine on the horizon so
Yeah.
we don't riot. And I don't like it. I feel it's dishonest. And
Yeah.
I personally deal better with honesty.
Yeah, and I think towards the end of the year, after the CitizenCon disaster, we started getting a lot more honesty.
I feel we got apologies before, and then we went right back to what it was before. So I'm not buying it.
That's fine, and you don't have to, but I do
buy it
feel
when
like
I
we're
see
getting
it.
more honesty. Like, I mean, they dropped their financials out there and shared the fact that they, have an investor and sold a portion of the company and things like that, where I don't know if they would have ever shared that to us a couple years ago. But at the same time, I also think they did that because they didn't want us to find out about the sale of the company
Maybe, yeah.
through another platform, right? But the I I do agree with you where it's I'll believe it when I see it kind of thing, but I also do feel like we're
You
getting
want to
quite a
believe.
bit more honesty towards the end of this year, and not. I feel like they've always been honest with us, but I feel like they don't understand us, and I feel like they're starting to understand us a little bit more. Maybe. I think they're too, especially Chris is too involved in the game to think about how we are and what we expect and how we feel. I think he's too engaged in actually making the game. And I think the people that are supposed to have like a finger on the pulse of the community don't. And I think that's the issue more than anything.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
you can put
after all,
out things
he's
like
the
a $20 CitizenCon ticket to actually watch the stream, but did anyone tell him that this is the worst idea ever? I don't know. And we'll never know if did someone tell him that or tell other people that and it was ignored or what? There's a lot of things that we'll never know, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I get his position.
Yeah.
He's the CEO of Cloud Imperium Games. His job is to make the game and actually help finance the game, keep the
funding.
money coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's technically all what you should care about. But especially the CitizenCon thing and the live stream behind a paywall. I mean, everyone from the community could see the shitstorm coming.
Yeah,
So,
and the biggest issue
I
that I
agree.
always have, and this is what I don't like, I'm gonna pop in and interrupt. I always I don't like to interrupt, so I'll tell you that I'm interrupting and I'm sorry. But the big thing that I don't want to see from 2019 is them to continue to do stuff like that in particular. That was straight up, we want to have a really cool con. Like that really seemed to me like this is something that we want. And we can't do it unless we pay a lot of money for it. So we're going to have to ask you guys to pay some money. And it was like, but you didn't need to do that. You know? They didn't need to do what they were doing at CitizenCon. They wanted to.
Yeah. Or Chris wanted to.
Exactly. So take our money and do what needs to be done and stop doing what you want to be done. Is how I feel.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So where was I?
Sorry.
Okay. Lastly, for 2019, my eyes are actually on Squadron 42 for the most part. Because I think
why though?
They will improve on. Because I think they will improve on Star Citizen and it becomes more stable and we have more content to play.
And you mean the persistent universe rule, right?
The PU, right?
Okay.
And but I think Squadron 42 is overall more important.
Even though with the roadmap we're not going to see it in 2019.
Yes, because
that's why it's off my radar.
No, it's definitely on my radar because I agree. It's we won't see much change in 2019 regarding to Squadron 42 and how it will actually play or we get more footage or whatever. But I think we can estimate how well the roadmap for Squadron 42 is going by observing how is the AI improving, how is the new flight model. I mean, we are now or in 2019 we're 6 or 7 years into development, and they are still bringing out a new flight model, which is the very core mechanic of your game.
And was supposed to be solved with Arena Commander. Yeah.
Yes. And we're still making major changes to it. And that's somewhat concerning, I think.
Of course.
But we'll see. I feel like they have to hit a home run with a new flight model. It's like if they have to rework that again from the ground up, it's terrible. And you can kiss goodbye to whatever release dates or estimates they want to put out there.
Yeah, because that should affect the way we trade and mine and everything. It affects every piece of the game, obviously.
And it directly affects the Squadron 42.
Yes.
Because without a really good flight model, or a fun flight model at least, Squadron 42 will be bad.
Yeah.
Because that's mainly what you're doing in the game.
Yeah.
So in that sentiment, how is the first person gameplay shaping up in 2019? Do we see improvements from there? And then we can again see what's the more realistic estimate for Squadron 42. And like I think Caman said it, scanning, or rather the entire radar system, is important as well. So I'm actually more observing on those, looking at those parts to get a somewhat more realistic estimate where Squadron 42 stands.
Gotcha. That's what I've always done. If the AI is shit in the PU, then Squadron's nowhere close to being done. You know, when
And-
we start
and
seeing the
that's-
AI doing stuff, like I actually saw an AI wave at another AI, and I was like, oh my god. But at the same time, like it's not anywhere near close.
And that's what angered me so hard in 2016, right around Gamescom, when Chris Roberts still held on to a release of Squadron 42. He just wasn't sure if they can make it 2016, but it sounded like if it's not 2016, it's somewhat the first
Soon.
couple of months in 2017.
Do you know how many
But the
people were
AI
like,
was
but well,
still
it'll release
garbage.
soon though.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where is your mind?
But the AI was still garbage.
Yeah.
And that's
Everything
why
was. It was 2016.
Yeah, and that was the year they first showed planetary landings, right?
Yep.
On the demo.
The pupil
And
to planet.
that's not an excuse. If you cut out the whole planetary landing thing, you still need a functional AI for the game to be released in the same year.
Yeah.
And that was the time I completely snapped out, and I felt honestly lied to right in my face when he still said, maybe not 2016, but he made it sound like it's early 2017, when he already knew no way it's 2017. Or
But give an example of where
close.
that's happened in 2018. This is a year in review 2018. Are they still doing that stuff now, or have they learned, or are you saying that like I will never trust them because
not that obvious, but I think when they gather at the beginning of the year to path out the road for the upcoming year, I feel like it's still somewhat the same, just without an actual release date. Because the tasks on the roadmap are I don't. It's like I said before in the last show, it's an absolute best case scenario,
yes,
which is most likely not going to happen. And I don't blame them for not making all those gameplay mechanics in time, but it's how they communicate everything to us. It's like, well, if it's not coming in the first month, we will have it by the end of the year, and it never happened, or it rarely happened.
Yeah. And I don't know. Is there anything else you want to say? Because I'm going to do some closing arguments or things.
No, final words. I handle it like I did it for a couple of years now. I will reevaluate my positions or feelings or whatever as things get updated and are taking shape.
Yeah, and obviously you're playing the game now, so it's in a definitely a better state than it was before. And I think 2019 we're going to start seeing a lot more of that. I don't know if it'll be the year for Star Citizen. I don't know if it'll be whatever, but I definitely think we're starting to see things going in the right direction, at least. At the very least, 2018 was they're steering the ship. And I think the ship was was not moving for a long time. And then 2018, the ship started to steer in the right direction for the first time. So I don't know if they'll make it off course in 2019 or if they'll full steam ahead to a release or playable gameplay or whatever. But at least in 2018, the ship started to steer in the right direction,
Yeah, I agree. 2018 was an improvement, but where it failed was where expectation meets reality.
Yeah, I agree. And that's kind of what my closing stuff will be. And I'm going to let you go, IDD. Thank you so much for calling, and Happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year to you too.
All right, looking forward to playing games with you soon. All right, so guys, I'm going to do my kind of final thoughts here on this. And I had an initial, as most answer the calls, is I have an initial thought process when going into it, and then you guys kind of shed some light on things that I never would have thought of before, and specifically how important Squadron 42 is to you guys in 2019, and for a lot of the reasons that the pieces that are in Squadron 42 are very important to making the persistent universe fun. That's not something I would have thought about. But the last caller IDD really sheds the light for me, and what I want from 2019 is still what I said before. I want the current gameplay pieces or everything that's in the game currently to start functioning better and to start communicating with each other, right? Voice over IP as a standard, always open. You know, the ability to maybe be in 2 different voice over IP channels at one time, always having global open, but push to talk to communicate with just your teammates, right? Things like that, maybe. Mining and cargo hauling to interact more with NPCs and other players, whether it's transferring cargo from one ship to another, right? Just imagine a situation like this. A service beacon that transfers cargo. Very simple. Sorry. Good old Windows 10 strikes again. A service beacon where you transfer cargo from your ship to another cargo ship. Same as a console in at an outpost, right? So a pirate can say, drop, 2 SCU of your cargo, or I'll blow you out of the water. There you go. Right? So I really would like to see that kind of functioning in the game. Someone said in Twitch chat, how about getting basic shit to work? I think that's part of it, but we're always going to be in that situation where the game is not a released game, so basic shit doesn't need to work. It's more about getting the groundwork to work first. So having planets, having flight, having those things the way that they want them. The issue that I have, and this is where my clothing thoughts are going to be, and I'm glad you said what you said, is I feel, and this is from a backer's perspective, this is not something where I obviously don't know. This is just something I feel. I feel like the development has been like a goldfish, where it's like, okay, we put cargo in. Now, shiny, this thing over here, and that thing over there. I feel like the priorities, instead of shifting in like a slow, methodical direction, like, okay, we work on this, and then we work on that, and then we work on this, and everything's laid out in a linear fashion. I feel like it's all over the place, where it doesn't seem like the priorities are dependent, where this priority, we have to do this now because it's dependent on that, right? We get things that go into the game like cargo, where if anyone has done any cargo hauling in the last year, there's issues with the panels where they don't interact properly, where you try to sell stuff and it just says undefined, and there's no real reason why that we know. Like, it doesn't tell you why. I think we know why, but it's hard to figure out, right? Escort missions just have never really functioned. So there's a lot of things that I don't know. It's weird. It seems like they're like a goldfish to me, and they're all over the place. For me, for 2019, that's why I keep mentioning the things that are currently in the game. I'd like to see them work better. Obviously, nothing's going to be perfect, but I'd like to see them interact with each other more. I'd like them to take what we have and improve on it slowly. We don't necessarily need this like bam drop of tech that just smashes everything apart. Or not tech. We need the big dumps of tech, obviously, because that's the groundwork. But as far as like gameplay goes, I don't think we need like these huge drops that change everything. We just need, okay, from here we go to there, and it should be more slow and methodical. And when we put this thing in, well, how will it interact with mining, and how will it interact with cargo hauling, and how will it interact with these basic missions that go on? Like, when there's a reputation system that comes online, are you going to make it so, people can be involved in the missions that you're playing? All sorts of stuff like that, right? So for me, the year in review was, we got so much. this year. We got so much this year. It's incredible. When you think you started to think about at this time last year, I was playing Star Citizen 3.0, and now I'm playing 3.4, where I have a planet and the central business district and trains and all these new ships and mining and cargo hauling and all these great things. Voice over IP, even though, you know, obviously everything has its issues. I want to see some game, man. When they start coming together, we have a game. And that's kind of what I want to see is that. So, guys, I'm going to leave you with that. And it's been a wonderful 2019 or 2018. I'm looking forward to a really great 2019. For those of you guys that know me personally, there's been and the people that do watch my stream, they definitely know me personally and the things that have been up and the things that have been down over the years. And for the first time in my life, for the first time in my life, 2018 was a year where I didn't move forward. I moved backwards in so many ways, or more like 2017. But 2018 is where my life is starting to steer in the right direction. I have a wonderful girlfriend. I have a wonderful family. I have this community now that's not only building on Twitch, it's also building on YouTube. And I am so happy with everything I have, and I couldn't ask for anything more. So for me personally, for 2019, I'm so happy. That's it. And I'm just happy where things are going. And for the channel in 2019, I think we're going to do really great things. I have lots of fun things planned. I think you're starting to see some of them on Twitch and on YouTube with like our Star Citizen Let's Play. And yeah, I don't really have anything else. I just want to thank you guys. So as always, if you guys like this video, please like it and comment. Let me know what you want to see from Star Citizen in 2019. And finally, hit that subscribe button. All right? Both on Twitch and on YouTube. All right, goodbye, everybody. Have a wonderful new year, and I will see you guys in 2019. And our topic in 2019, again, our first topic of 2019 is Star Citizen ignoring solo players? It'll be something like that. I have to think of a topic that makes sense. But I feel like they are. So that'll be our topic for the new year, all right? Goodbye, everybody. Happy New Year, guys.